before we take a look at the actual physical MS-3 Func mouse, I figure we just take a look at the software first, since most of the features will be covered by looking at the software. Anyway, here we have, you can see the layout is similar to the packaging. It's plain, basically white, kind of off-white color, and you have the profiles here on top, and the highlight is the orange color. And it's easy to navigate. You have the profiles on top and the backup and restore function, since you can save it to save your profiles that you've set to as a map file on your hard drive or a network drive or even your thumb drive. You can take it to a friend's house or anywhere, or a LAN party, and just restore function for restoring from a map file there. And you have the basic settings here. You have the DPI steps. You have 3 steps. By default, you have 450, 900, and 1800. They're pretty modest, considering it goes all the way to 670 at the highest and 90 for the lowest. It goes by 90 each step. You move it around, 90, 180, 270. And since it is using an Avago ADNS 9500 laser sensor, you can set the X and Y axis separately for more, depending on the control you want to use. For example, you are using an RTS game and you want more of the X-axis movement. You can set it here for higher sensitivity while leaving the Y-axis at a lower sensitivity. That is, of course, it takes some getting used to, but it is always dependent on the user. And let me just disable that again, and see, it moves around there. And if the fourth one here is the instant aim, it allows you to, when you click that, essentially goes into that whatever DPI setting is in there immediately, depending on whatever step you are. So there's no guessing. Even though there actually are LED indicators on the mouse itself, you don't need to look at that. So you just click on the instant aim. You have peace of mind that you are in that setting. Now, one function of this one, for example, is if you are an FPS gamer that plays generally at higher DPIs, for example, you are playing at, for example here, you're playing at 2000 DPI, 3000, and around 4000 DPI. And this is, you're used to this setting if you're running and gunning. But the moment you strap on a sniper rifle, or switch to your sniper rifle gun, and you're zooming into the scope, you might want to kind of have a tighter X and Y axis. And what you can do is just, instead of sacrificing one of the DPI steps to a lower setting and then guessing, taking the time to guess or look at your LED indicator to which DPI steps you are to confirm that you are in that DPI steps, that you are indeed in that lower DPI switch, you can just set it here in instant aim, and then instantly while you're pressing that button, it will, and then you're zooming into your scope, you'll have immediately the lower DPI setting. Very handy feature. It is a unique feature, not found in other mice, so it's cool that it has that instant aim feature. And pointer sensitivity by default at 6, which is the 1:1 ratio for Windows, and which is of course the recommended one. And at the bottom you have the liftoff distance. You have 3 settings here: low, mid, and high. Generally, the Avago ADNS 9500 sensor already has a low liftoff distance. I believe the tech specs mention around 1 to 5 millimeters. Although surprisingly, the liftoff distance for this one, even at highest setting, is around 2.5 millimeters. I can barely. I tried cloth surfaces and I tried both the Func 1030 XL matte, both sides of it, and they're pretty much almost the same setting as well. It doesn't have any problem with cloth surfaces as well. It still has a low liftoff distance, even in height at around 2.5, and that low is around 1.5. So it 1.5, and I would say around 2 for the mid, and then 2.5 for the high. A little lower than 2.5 for the high setting, but that is another feature. If you are a player who for some reason wants a really high liftoff distance, but I don't really know too many of those, but just for this one, you have to know that even at the high liftoff distance is still pretty low compared to most gaming mouse standards. So that's a good function to have, that you have that option. And you have also at the bottom, you have angle snapping and pointer acceleration. Angle snapping is essentially it allows kind of more a I forgot what Windows calls it, but it kind of guides your mouse to sort of like an auto aim function, but if you recognize that if you draw a line, for example, it will help you create a straighter line than not having an angle snapping turned on. It is disabled by default. Here you can enable it once you turn orange. If you want, for example, in your desktop, you want to enable so it's easier for you. Maybe you're working in Photoshop, you can use angle snapping for that, or for just daily productivity. But for gaming, you most likely want, if you're a hardcore gamer, you might want to disable that and the pointer acceleration as well. The pointer acceleration, you probably played some games that have sort of, you've experienced when you move the mouse at a high rate of movement from left, when you're moving slowly, for example, the right, and then you move immediately to the left, back again at a higher rate. Sometimes there is acceleration with a pointer, so it won't land in the same origin point as it was from when you started. So that is pointer acceleration. It is disabled by default because most people complain, especially the laser sensors, the Avago 9500. A lot of people are complaining that there are acceleration issues, usually random, depending on the mouse. So that is a good feature that Func has included, the ability to disable it, and it is actually disabled by default. But it's also there. You can enable it if you'd like. And also here you have the double click speed, which is standard. Unlike the liftoff distance, you can actually set this into multiple levels. And the scroll speed, where you can set all the way here to 10. And you can actually scroll by page. And right here at the bottom, you have the polling rate. You want to kind of mix and match. The default is 125 Hertz, which is the Windows standard. It goes all the way up to 1000 Hertz. You can mix and match which setting you have with the DPI, depending on how accurate you feel with the mouse. Most users, depending on the type of player you are, you probably already have a set setting that you are familiar with. Now you have the next tab here is the button assignment, and you can reassign. These are the default values, and you can reassign some. By default, the left click has to be it won't let you exit the program unless you save or hit apply for the left click setting, because that's kind of just a feature. You don't want to disable that function and not be able to access anything in Windows at all after. So that, just by precaution, that is always you can't save anything unless unless that thing you can't exit this program without saving something from the left click function. And for example, let me show you here for the scroll click. You can have default commands, which are the commands that you see here already, including instant aim. You have the Windows commands, just for basic productivity, for open, copy, paste. You have media functions, play, pause, volume up, volume down. Recorded macros, we don't have anything yet, we'll go over that later. And you have single key assignments, and they disable the key completely. See here, you have the next tab is the color setting. Now there are only two LED functions here that are adjustable. There's actually the auto aim color here, the side button LED. You can enable to, we can set it to pulse. The moment you hit apply, it will apply the settings. It takes about a few seconds, then it will kick in, and then you can just also disable it completely or change the color here. You have basically a rainbow color, RGB, so you have full spectrum. Change the saturation, change the brightness, and you can even have it different from the scroll wheel color. Let me just set my things to default again, because my mouse is moving too fast right now since I hit apply. Takes about a few seconds. There will be a progress bar that pops up that says applying settings when you hit apply. I'm on my second monitor here to demonstrate to you, so you can't see the popped up the progress bar that popped up. And the next one is the macro editor. Now this is a little bit weird, since you can only save keyboard functions. You can't record mouse functions. For example, let me just test macro, and then you type the name there, and then you hit record. Remember, what you click, it's not recording, But you have, for example, you type. Now those arrows there are indicator when you press the button and when you release the button. Unfortunately, it doesn't say, there's no time code, so it doesn't say how long the duration is, and you can't edit it either. I'm trying to right click here, you can't change anything at all, so it's very rudimentary in terms of function. And then I can't even delete one. You have to delete the entire thing in case you make a mistake, so you can't edit that functionality. And for example, even if I type, see, I held the A there a little bit longer, and you can't differentiate between just reading this function right here with the length of duration of the presses. And then after that's ready, you can just hit stop record, and then save. It saves it immediately, and there's no other function here. You can't right click or click it again. You only have the disposal function here, which is a little bit annoying. It would be nice if you can save this function or just look at the time code, how long each button presses are, or other functionality for the macro, how many times it repeats. It's very basic in terms of macro functionality, but either way, if you want that functionality, it is available there. You can just hit delete and it will open that up. Then the get support function, of course, which is pretty standard, links you directly to func.net. And that pretty much covers the part of the software. I'm now going to test it out, run a few games, run some applications, and I'm going to tell you my impressions and also go over the functionality of the Func, the actual physical functionality of the Func MS-3 gaming mouse with the Func Surface 1030 XL gaming mousepad.